The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 different species took their seats. Ambassador Krell of the Zephyrian Empire stood at the center podium, his blue-scaled hands gripping the speaking platform. His four eyes swept across the assembled delegates, lingering on the newest members who had just joined the Confederation last month. Today we discuss boundaries, Krell began, his voice carrying through the translation devices worn by each delegate. Specifically, the boundaries around human space that must never be crossed. A young Altarian delegate raised one of her 6 arms. Ambassador Krell, surely you exaggerate. The humans are just another species. What makes them so different? Krell's facial tendrils twitched in what humans would recognize as a nervous gesture. He activated the holographic display behind him, showing a 3-dimensional map of known space. A large section glowed red with warning beacons marking every entry point. The humans control roughly 12% of charted space, Krell explained. Notice the warning beacons. They broadcast in 17 different languages, all saying the same thing. Do not enter. Turn back. This is your only warning. The Altarian. Delegate leaned forward. But Ambassador, our military reports suggest human technology is not significantly advanced beyond our own. Their ships appear standard. Their weapons are conventional. Why should we fear them? A ripple of agreement passed through some of the newer delegates. Krell noticed this and his expression grew more serious. That is exactly what the hegemony thought 50 years ago, Krell said quietly. They sent a survey fleet to test human resolve. 12 ships entered human space. 1 ship returned. The pilot was found floating in an escape pod at the border, catatonic. He never spoke again. The hall fell silent. The Altarian delegate's 6 arms folded against her body in a defensive posture. Krell continued. The Vardakian Empire tried next 23 years ago. They sent their finest battle cruiser, the Pride of Vardak, with a crew of 2,000. It was found 3 months later, drifting in deep space. The ship was intact. The crew was gone. Every single one of them. No signs of struggle. No damage. To the ship, they had simply vanished. What did the humans do to them? Whispered a delegate from the back. That is the question that keeps military planners awake across the galaxy, Krell replied. We do not know. The humans never speak of their methods. They simply repeat their warning. Stay out of their space. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human exploration vessel, New Horizon, reading a classified message from Earth Command. His first officer, Lieutenant Chris Barnes, noticed the captain's frown. Bad news, sir? Barnes asked. Morrison handed him the datapad. Admiral Carter says the hegemony is planning something. Intelligence suggests they're moving ships toward our border. Barnes read the message quickly. Do they really think they can succeed where others have failed? Apparently Commander Vex believes we're bluffing, Morrison replied. He thinks our reputation is built on fear tactics and technology tricks. The communication officer, Ensign Kate Adams, looked up from her station. Sir, we're receiving a priority message from Kepler 7 Research Station. Dr. Ben Taylor wants to speak with you immediately. Morrison nodded. Put him through. The main screen flickered, showing a middle-aged man in a white lab coat. Behind him, Morrison could see the busy interior of a research facility. Captain Morrison, Dr. Taylor said, his voice tense. We've detected unusual energy signatures approaching from hegemony space. Large ships moving in formation. My colleague, Dr. Amy Walsh, has been analyzing the patterns. Dr. Walsh appeared beside Taylor on the screen, holding a data tablet. Captain, these aren't exploration vessels. The energy output suggests military-grade engines and weapon systems. This is a war fleet. Morrison exchanged glances with Barnes. How many ships, Doctor? At least 12, possibly more, Dr. Walsh replied. They'll reach our border in approximately 18 hours at their current speed. Understood, Morrison said. Begin lockdown procedures immediately. This is not a drill. Back on the research station, Dr. Taylor and Dr. Walsh watched their screens as automated systems sealed blast doors and activated defensive shields. The station's small crew of 30 scientists and support staff moved with practiced efficiency, having drilled for this scenario many times. Ben, Dr. Walsh said quietly, pulling up classified files on her computer. I've been reading the restricted archives again. Do you know why other species really fear us? Dr. Taylor shook his head. The official reports are heavily censored. Something about unconventional warfare tactics. Dr. Walsh's fingers flew across her keyboard, accessing files that required special clearance. It's not our technology. It's not our weapons. It's how we think about conflict itself. On her screen, fragments of ancient battle reports appeared. Most of the text was blacked out, but certain phrases remained visible. Persistence hunting, psychological warfare, strategic endurance, and adaptive pack behavior. The other species fight wars like they're sporting events, Dr. Walsh continued. They meet in open space, exchange fire, and one side wins. Clean, quick, honorable. And we don't fight that way? Dr. Taylor asked. Dr. Walsh shook her head slowly. We fight the way our ancestors hunted on Earth. We follow. We wait. We wear down our prey until they make a mistake. And then we strike. Across the galaxy, in hegemony, Space Commander Vex addressed his fleet commanders via holographic conference. His reptilian features showed confidence and ambition. The humans have maintained their bluff for too long, he declared. No species can control that much space with the small military we've observed. Their warning beacons are psychological warfare, nothing more. Captain Zarn, one of his subordinates, shifted uncomfortably. Commander, perhaps we should reconsider. The Council records show fear and superstition, Vex interrupted. We have the finest ships in hegemony space. Our weapons are proven. Our crews are experienced. What can a handful of humans do against us? Zarn fell silent, but his expression remained troubled. Back aboard the New Horizon, Captain Morrison received confirmation from Admiral Carter that Protocol Crimson was now in effect. The message was brief but clear. Rules of engagement are now unrestricted. Show them why the boundaries exist. Morrison looked at his crew. Barnes was checking weapon systems. Adams was monitoring communications across multiple frequencies. Everyone moved with calm precision, as if preparing for a routine patrol rather than potential combat. Sir, Adams reported, I'm picking up hegemony communications. They're definitely heading for our border. Morrison nodded. Send a message to Admiral Carter. Tell her the New Horizon is ready. And Kate? Yes, sir. Include our coordinates. The Admiral will want to know exactly where we are when the hegemony crosses the line. In the depths of space, ancient warning beacons continued their endless broadcast, sending the same message in 17 languages to any ship that approached. Human space. Turn back. This is your only warning. Soon those warnings would be tested once again. Commander Vex stood in the command center of his flagship, the Crimson Talon, watching the massive viewscreen that showed the approaching human border. His fleet of 12 warships moved in perfect formation through the darkness of space. Each vessel bristled with weapons and carried crews trained for conquest. Distance to human space, Vex asked his navigation officer. 2 hours until we reach the boundary markers, sir, came the reply. Captain Zarn approached from his position at the tactical station. His scaled face showed concern. Commander, I must voice my objections one final time. The Council warnings exist for a reason. Vex turned to face his subordinate, his yellow eyes gleaming with ambition. Captain Zarn, fear has made the galaxy weak. The humans control valuable systems that should belong to stronger species. Today we prove they are not the monsters the Council believes them to be. But sir, the missing fleets were victims of their own cowardice, Vex interrupted. When faced with real military power, the humans will surrender their territories or be destroyed. Either outcome serves our purposes. On the bridge of the New Horizon, Captain Morrison received an update from Admiral Carter at Earth Command. The holographic image of the Admiral appeared crisp and clear, her expression calm despite the approaching threat. Jake, our deep space sensors confirm 12 hegemony ships crossing into our outer detection grid, Admiral Carter reported. The lead vessel matches the signature of Commander Vex's flagship. Lieutenant Barnes looked up from his tactical display. Admiral, Intelligence reports suggest Vex is ambitious and reckless. He may not follow standard military doctrine. Admiral Carter nodded. That actually works in our favor, Lieutenant. Predictable enemies are easier to manage than unpredictable ones, but arrogant enemies are the easiest of all. Morrison studied the tactical readout showing the approaching fleet. What are your orders, Admiral? Standard Protocol 7. Carter replied. Let them come deep enough to understand their mistake, then initiate containment procedures. The New Horizon will coordinate with Hunter Groups 3, 7, and 12. Ensign Adams frowned at her communication console. Sir, I'm not detecting any other human ships in the area. Are we facing 12 enemy vessels alone? Morrison smiled grimly. Kate, you're thinking like a traditional military officer. We don't fight the way other species expect us to fight. At Kepler 7 Research Station, Dr. Ben Taylor and Dr. Amy Walsh monitored the hegemony fleet's approach from their secure observation post. The station's automated defense systems had activated, sealing them safely inside layers of reinforced barriers. Ben, look at this, Dr. Walsh called from her workstation. The hegemony ships are scanning for our military installations, but their readings don't make sense. Dr. Taylor joined her at the display. What do you mean? They're detecting far fewer defensive positions than any reasonable military doctrine would require, Dr. Walsh explained. According to their scans, we have maybe 1/10 the fortifications they expected. Maybe our stealth technology is better than they anticipated? Dr. Walsh shook her head. No, I think they're getting accurate readings. We really don't have traditional defensive installations the way other species do. She pulled up classified military files on her screen. Look at this tactical doctrine. Other species build space stations, orbital platforms, and static defense grids. They create fortress worlds and secure their borders with visible military power. And we don't do that? We do something completely different, Dr. Walsh said, highlighting sections of the documents. Our entire military philosophy is based on mobility and misdirection. We don't defend territory the way others expect. Commander Vex's fleet crossed the first warning beacon without slowing down. The automated message played across all communication frequencies. You are entering human space. Turn back immediately. This is your only warning. Typical intimidation tactics, Vex announced to his bridge crew. Continue forward. Maintain formation. Captain Zarn monitored his sensors carefully. Sir, I'm detecting what appears to be a single human vessel on an intercept course. Just one ship. Vex laughed. One ship against 12? The humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Sir, the tactical officer reported. The human vessel is broadcasting an identification signal. It's the New Horizon, an exploration-class ship with minimal weapons. An exploration ship? Vex's confidence grew. They're sending scientists to fight us? This will be easier than I imagined. What Commander Vex didn't realize was that Captain Morrison's ship was being tracked by dozens of human vessels scattered throughout the region. Unlike other species, humans didn't mass their fleets in obvious formations. Instead, they spread their forces across vast areas of space, using asteroids, debris fields, and empty regions as hiding places. Sir, Ensign Adams reported, I'm receiving coded transmissions from hunter groups throughout the sector. They're all reporting ready status. Lieutenant Barnes nodded approvingly. The hegemony ships are following the exact path we expected. They're being guided into the optimal engagement zone. Morrison activated his ship's communication array. This is Captain Morrison of the New Horizon to the approaching hegemony fleet. You are in violation of Galactic Council agreements. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Commander Vex's response came quickly. Human vessel, this is Commander Vex of the Hegemony 4th Fleet. You will surrender your ship and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with destruction. I'm afraid I can't do that, Commander, Morrison replied calmly. You have 30 seconds to begin your withdrawal from human space. Vex gestured to his weapons officer. Lock onto that pathetic ship and prepare to fire. Let's show these humans what real military power looks like. But something strange began to happen on the hegemony sensors. What had appeared to be empty space around them started showing new contacts. Ships seemed to materialize from nowhere, appearing behind asteroids and emerging from what looked like empty patches of darkness. "Sir," Captain Zarn said urgently, "I'm counting at least 20 human vessels that weren't there a moment ago. How is that possible?" Commander Vex stared at his tactical display in confusion. "Cloaking technology? Some kind of stealth system, Doctor?" Taylor watched the unfolding situation from his research station. "Amy, are you seeing this? The human ships aren't using any advanced technology. They were just hidden in plain sight." Dr. Walsh nodded grimly. "It's like watching a pack of wolves surround their prey. The hegemony ships thought they were hunting one isolated target, but they've actually been herded into a trap. But how did the humans coordinate so perfectly without the hegemony detecting their communications?" Dr. Walsh pulled up more classified files. According to this, human military units train to operate independently for extended periods. They don't need constant communication because they plan for every contingency in advance. On the Crimson Eye, Talon Commander Vex realized his fleet was now completely surrounded. Human ships had appeared at every escape route, moving with coordinated precision that suggested careful planning rather than lucky positioning. "This is impossible," Vex muttered. "Where did they all come from?" Captain Morrison's voice came over, the communication channel again still calm and professional. "Commander Vex, you are now surrounded by elements of the Human Defense Force. You have one final opportunity to withdraw peacefully. I suggest you take it." Vex's pride and ambition overcame his growing fear. "All ships open fire. Destroy every human vessel." The space around the two fleets erupted in weapons fire as the first shots of the engagement lit up the darkness. But what the hegemony forces expected to be a quick victory was about to become something very different. The humans had allowed them to fire first, but that was part of the plan. Now the real demonstration of human military doctrine was about to begin, and Commander Vex was about to learn why other species feared to enter human space. The battle was just beginning, but the outcome was already decided. The hegemony ships were no longer hunters. They had become the prey. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the darkness between the two fleets. Commander Vex watched from his bridge as his ships unleashed their full firepower against the surrounding human vessels. Plasma bolts and energy beams streaked across space in brilliant displays of destruction. "Direct hits on 3 human ships," his tactical officer reported with excitement. "Their shields are failing. 2 vessels are falling back." Vex smiled with satisfaction. "You see, Captain Zarn? The humans are no different from any other species. Apply enough force and they retreat like cowards." But Captain Zarn was studying his sensor readings with growing concern. "Sir, something is wrong. The human ships that were hit are not destroyed. They're withdrawing in perfect formation, almost like they planned this retreat." "Nonsense," Vex replied. "Fear makes them run." "Press the attack. All ships pursue the retreating humans." Admiral Carter monitored the battle from Earth Command, watching as the tactical display showed the hegemony fleet spreading out to chase the withdrawing human ships. She activated her communication link to Captain Morrison. "Jake, Phase 1 is complete. The enemy has taken the bait and broken formation. Begin Phase 2. On the new horizon, Lieutenant Barnes watched his tactical screen with professional interest. "Sir, the hegemony ships are splitting up to pursue our retreating units. They've abandoned their tight formation." Morrison nodded approvingly. "Perfect. They're thinking like traditional military commanders. Kate, signal Hunter Groups 4 and 9. It's time to show our guests what human warfare really looks like." Ensign Adams sent the coded message, then looked up with curiosity. "Captain, I still don't understand our strategy. Why did we let them hit our ships?" Morrison smiled grimly. "Kate, other species fight to win battles quickly. They think the goal is to destroy enemy ships as fast as possible. But humans learned long ago that the real goal is to control the battlefield and eliminate threats permanently." Dr. Ben Taylor watched the battle unfold from Kepler 7 research station, his instruments tracking the movement of both fleets. What he saw confused him at first. "Amy, the human ships that were hit are still operational. Their damage reports were exaggerated. Dr. Amy Walsh nodded, reading classified tactical manuals on her screen. It's called a feigned retreat, Ben. One of humanity's oldest military strategies. You pretend to be wounded and weak, then spring the real trap when the enemy becomes overconfident. But why would the humans risk their ships like that, Dr. Walshy? Highlighted a section of text. Because human military doctrine is based on pack hunting behavior. In nature, wolves will have one member of the pack act injured to lure dangerous prey away from safety. Then the rest of the pack attacks from hidden positions. On the Crimson Talon, Commander Vex was beginning to realize something was wrong. His fleet had spread across a much larger area of space while chasing the retreating human ships, and now his sensors were showing troubling readings. Captain Zarn, why are our ships reporting communication difficulties? Zarn checked his displays with growing alarm. Sir, it appears the humans are using some kind of jamming technology. Our ships can still communicate, but there's significant interference. And our pursuit ships? The Stellar Fury and the Iron Blade have lost contact with the main fleet. They were chasing damaged human vessels into that asteroid field. Vex stared at the tactical display. 2 of his ships had vanished from sensors completely. What do you mean lost contact? Sir, their signals just stopped. No distress calls, no explosion signatures. They simply disappeared. What Commander Vex didn't understand was that the humans had spent decades perfecting the art of making ships vanish. Not through advanced technology, but through careful planning and precise execution. The asteroid field that had swallowed 2 hegemony ships was actually a carefully prepared killing ground. Captain Morrison received reports from Hunter Group 7, which had been waiting silently among the asteroids for months. Their leader, Commander Lisa Stone, reported the successful elimination of 2 enemy vessels. Clean takedown, Jake. Stone's voice came through the secure channel. Both ships disabled and crews captured. No survivors reached escape pods. Understood. Lisa. Prepare for the next phase. The remaining hegemony ships will be looking for their missing vessels. Lieutenant Barnes was monitoring the enemy fleet's growing panic. Sir, the hegemony commander is trying to regroup his scattered ships. He's calling them back to defensive formation. Morrison nodded. Too late for that. They've learned the first lesson about fighting humans. We don't fight fair, and we don't fight the way you expect. Dr. Walsh pulled up historical records on her research station computer. Ben, I'm reading about something called persistence hunting. It's how early humans hunted large animals on Earth. What does ancient hunting have to do with space warfare? Everything, Dr. Walsh replied, showing him the files. Humans didn't chase prey until they caught it. They chased prey until the prey exhausted itself trying to escape. Then, when the animal was tired and confused, humans would move in for the kill. Dr. Taylor watched as more hegemony ships began to disappear from his sensors. You're saying the humans are treating this fleet like a hunting expedition? Exactly, they're not trying to win a battle. They're hunting 12 dangerous animals that wandered into their territory. Commander Vex was losing control of the situation. 4 of his 12 ships had now vanished without explanation. The remaining 8 were trying to maintain formation, but human ships kept appearing and disappearing around them like ghosts. Sir, his communication officer reported, I'm receiving a message from the human ship New Horizon. Captain Morrison's calm voice filled the bridge of the Crimson Talon. Commander Vex, you now have 8 ships remaining. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the first few minutes, but we wanted you to understand something important. What are you talking about? Vex demanded. You came here expecting a battle, but humans don't fight battles the way other species do. We hunt. And right now, you and your remaining ships are our prey. Captain Zarn stared at his tactical display in horror. Sir, I'm detecting human ships in positions we thought were empty space. They've been surrounding us this entire time. Morrison continued his explanation. Every species in the galaxy builds defenses and fights wars the same way. You mass your forces, engage in direct combat, and try to achieve quick victory. It's predictable. And humans don't do that? Humans learned thousands of years ago that the most dangerous predator is not the strongest or the fastest. It's the one that never stops hunting until the prey is eliminated. Dr. Taylor watched as the human strategy became clear. Amy, the humans aren't just defeating this fleet, they're teaching them a lesson. A lesson about what? About why other species stay out of human space. This isn't a military engagement. It's a demonstration. On the New Horizon, Morrison prepared for the final phase of the operation. Kate, open a channel to the remaining hegemony ships. When the connection was established, Morrison spoke to all 8 remaining vessels. This is your final warning. You entered human space believing you were stronger than us. You were wrong, not because our technology is better, but because you don't understand how humans fight. Commander Vex's voice cracked slightly as he replied, "What do you want? We want you to leave and never return. But first, we want you to understand what happened here today. Your missing ships and crews are alive, but they are our prisoners. They will be returned to you when you reach the border." This is impossible. How did you coordinate such a complex operation? Morrison's answer chilled every alien on the hegemony ships. Commander, we've been planning for this exact scenario since the day we put up the warning beacons. Every human ship in this region has been preparing for intruders like you for years. The truth was beginning to dawn on Vex and his remaining officers. The humans hadn't responded to their invasion. They had been waiting for it. You see, Commander, Morrison continued, other species think human space is defended by ships and weapons, but our real defense is patience. We can wait longer than you can plan, and we never stop hunting threats to our people. The 8 remaining hegemony ships found themselves completely surrounded by human vessels that seemed to appear from empty space. The hunt was nearly over. Commander Vex stood frozen on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display that showed his remaining 8 ships completely surrounded. Human vessels had appeared from what seemed like empty space, forming a perfect cage around the hegemony fleet. The silence on his bridge was broken only by the quiet hum of life support systems and the nervous breathing of his crew. How many human ships are out there? Vex asked his tactical officer. Sir, I count at least 30 vessels, but the readings are confusing. Some ships appear on sensors, then vanish, then reappear in different locations. Captain Zarn approached, Vex with a grim expression. Commander, I've been analyzing their movements. These aren't random patrol ships that happen to be in the area. This is a coordinated fleet that's been positioned for this exact scenario. What do you mean? Sir, the humans knew we were coming. They've been waiting for us. Captain Morrison watched from the bridge of the New Horizon as Admiral Carter's image appeared on the main screen. Behind her, he could see the busy operations center at Earth Command, where dozens of officers monitored the situation. Excellent work, Jake, Admiral Carter said. The hegemony ships are contained and our demonstration is proceeding perfectly. Are you ready for the final revelation? Morrison nodded. Yes, Admiral. Lieutenant Barnes has prepared the tactical display that will show them the truth about human space defense. And the prisoners from their missing ships? All safe and unharmed, Morrison replied. Commander Stone's teams followed capture protocols exactly. The hegemony crews are confused but not mistreated. Admiral Carter smiled grimly. Good. We want them to go home with a story, not a grudge. Begin the final phase. At Kepler 7 Research Station, Dr. Ben Taylor and Dr. Amy Walsh monitored the situation with growing understanding of human military strategy. Walsh had spent hours reading classified documents, and the picture they painted was both fascinating and terrifying. Ben, look at this, Walsh said, pointing to her screen. The humans have divided their entire territory into overlapping hunting zones. Every sector has multiple ship groups that can respond to threats. But that would require incredible coordination, Taylor replied. How do they manage so many scattered units? Walsh highlighted another section of the documents. They don't manage them the way other species do. Each hunting group operates independently for months at a time. They know their zone completely and can respond to any threat without waiting for orders. So when the hegemony fleet entered human space, they weren't facing a military response, Walsh finished. They walked into a trap that had been set years ago. Commander Vex received an incoming transmission from Captain Morrison. The human's calm voice filled the bridge once again, but now it carried a different tone. Not threatening, but educational. Commander Vex, you wanted to test human resolve. We've decided to show you exactly what you're dealing with. Please observe your tactical display. Vex looked at his screens as new information began to appear. Human ships that had been invisible suddenly showed their positions. The display revealed dozens more vessels scattered throughout the region, all watching, all waiting. This is impossible, whispered Vex's navigation officer. There are human ships everywhere. Morrison continued his explanation. What you're seeing is Hunter Group 12, which operates in this sector. But this is only one of hundreds of similar groups throughout human space. Captain Zarn studied the display with growing horror. Commander, if this is accurate, human space isn't defended by traditional military bases. The entire region is one giant hunting ground. You're beginning to understand, Morrison said, having overheard the comment. Other species build fortresses and defend specific points. Humans turn entire sectors into hunting territories. Dr. Walsh pulled up more classified files on her research station. Ben, I'm reading about something called Strategic Depth Doctrine. It explains how humans defend their territory. What does it say? Traditional military thinking focuses on protecting valuable targets by building defenses around them. Human doctrine does the opposite. They make their entire territory so dangerous that threats eliminate themselves. Dr. Taylor frowned. I don't understand. Think about it, Walsh explained. If you want to protect a city, most species would build walls around it. Humans would make the entire countryside so hostile that enemies never reach the city in the first place. On the Crimson Talon, Vex was beginning to grasp the true scope of what his fleet had encountered. Captain Morrison, are you saying that every sector of human space is defended this way? Every sector, every system, every important location, Morrison confirmed. We learned early in our expansion that other species would always outnumber us, so we developed a defense strategy that turns our entire civilization into a weapon. But the cost, the resources required, are far less than you might think, Morrison replied. Human ships are built for long-range operations. Our crews are trained for extended deployments. We don't need massive supply lines or constant communication because each hunting group is self-sufficient. Admiral Carter activated a communication link that connected her directly to Commander Vex. Her image appeared on his main screen, and her expression was serious but not hostile. Commander Vex, I am Admiral Carter of Earth Command. You came here believing that humans were bluffing about our defensive capabilities. I want you to understand why that belief was incorrect. Admiral, your forces have demonstrated superior tactics. We acknowledge our defeat. This isn't about defeat, Commander. This is about understanding. Your species, and every species in the galaxy, thinks about warfare in terms of battles. You gather your forces, engage the enemy, and seek quick victory. Vex nodded slowly. That is standard military doctrine across all known civilizations. But humans don't fight battles, Admiral Carter continued. We hunt threats, and the difference between fighting and hunting is that hunting never ends until the prey is eliminated. Captain Zarn spoke up from his position. Admiral, are you saying that if we had succeeded in destroying human ships today, you would have hunted our entire fleet across the galaxy? Not just your fleet, Captain, Admiral Carter replied calmly. If you had harmed human citizens or destroyed human vessels, we would have hunted every ship involved, every officer who gave orders, and every leader who planned this invasion. We would have followed you to your homeworlds if necessary. The bridge of the Crimson Talon fell silent as the implications sank in. Dr. Taylor, listening from his research station, finally understood why other species feared humans. Amy, it's not about technology or superior firepower, he whispered to Dr. Walsh. No, she replied quietly. It's about commitment. Other species fight until they win or lose. Humans fight until the threat no longer exists. Morrison addressed the hegemony, Fleet one final time. Commander Vex, your missing ships and crews will be returned to you at the border. You will be escorted out of human space and given safe passage home. And in return, You will tell your leaders what you learned here. That human space is defended not by walls or weapons, but by patience and persistence. That we don't fight wars the way other species do. What do you want us to tell them? Morrison's answer was simple and chilling. Tell them that humans never stop hunting. Tell them that we can wait longer than they can plan. And tell them that the warning beacons exist for their protection, not ours. Admiral Carter concluded the demonstration. Commander Vex, you entered our space to test our resolve. You have your answer. The question now is whether you will learn from this experience or become an example for others. The remaining hegemony ships found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had been waiting in the darkness for years, ready to protect their territory with methods that no other species truly understood. Commander Vex stood in silence on the bridge of the Crimson Talon as human ships began to move into escort formation around his remaining fleet. The demonstration was over, but the lesson would last forever. His 8 surviving vessels looked tiny compared to the human forces that had materialized from what seemed like empty space. "Sir," his communication officer reported quietly, "the humans are transmitting coordinates for our withdrawal route. They're also sending the location where our missing crews will be returned." Vex nodded slowly. He had entered human space with 12 ships and supreme confidence. Now he was leaving with 8 ships and the knowledge that his entire fleet had been outmatched from the moment they crossed the border. Captain Morrison opened a final communication channel to the hegemony. "Commander Vex, your escort to the border will begin now. Captain Stone will meet you at Beacon 7 with your missing personnel." "Captain Morrison," Vex said, his voice lacking its earlier arrogance, "may I ask you something?" "Of course. When we entered your space, how long did you know we were coming?" Morrison exchanged glances with Lieutenant Barnes before answering. "Our deep space monitoring detected your fleet's departure from hegemony space 6 days ago. We've been tracking your approach since then." "6 days?" Captain Zarn whispered. "They've been watching us for 6 days?" "Commander Vex," Morrison continued, "we knew your ship types, your weapons capabilities, your crew sizes, and your most likely approach routes before you even reached our border. This entire operation was planned and prepared while you were still in transit." The silence on the hegemony bridge was deafening. Dr. Ben Taylor, monitoring from Kepler 7 research station, turned to Dr. Amy Walsh with understanding finally dawning on his face. "Amy, the humans weren't just defending against this attack. They were using it as a teaching tool." Dr. Walsh nodded grimly. "Every move the hegemony made was anticipated and planned for. The humans could have destroyed the entire fleet in the first few minutes, but they chose to demonstrate their capabilities instead. But why? Because destroying one fleet would only encourage others to try. But showing how easily they can control and eliminate threats? That sends a message to every military commander in the galaxy." Admiral Carter addressed Commander Vex directly from Earth Command. "Commander, before you leave our space, I want you to understand one final thing. What you experienced today was not our full defensive capability." Vex felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean, Admiral?" "The ships you encountered represent approximately 2% of our mobile defense forces in this sector alone, and this sector is one of 47 similar regions throughout human space." Captain Zarn quickly calculated the numbers in his head. "Admiral, are you saying that you have thousands of ships positioned throughout your territory?" "Captain, we have whatever number of ships is necessary to protect human lives and human interests. The exact number is not important. What matters is that every potential threat knows we have the capability to respond appropriately." Captain Morrison guided the New Horizon alongside the hegemony fleet as they began their withdrawal toward the border. "Commander Vex, you entered our space believing you could take what you wanted through superior force. But force was never the issue. Then what was?" "Commitment," Morrison replied simply. "Your species, like most others, commits to military operations until they succeed or fail. Humans commit to eliminating threats until those threats no longer exist." The convoy of ships moved slowly through space toward the human border. Along the way, Vex and his officers saw things that would haunt their dreams for years to come. Human vessels emerged from asteroid fields where they had been waiting for months. Defense platforms that looked like ordinary space debris revealed themselves as sophisticated weapon systems. Empty patches of space suddenly showed the energy signatures of ships that had been drifting silently for weeks. "How many of them are out there?" whispered Vex's tactical officer. "Enough," Captain Morrison answered, having overheard the question. "There are always enough." At Beacon 7, Captain Stone's ship waited with the 4 missing hegemony vessels. As promised, the ships were intact and their crews were unharmed, though they looked shaken by their experience. Commander Vex opened a communication channel to his missing officers. "This is Vex. Report your status." Captain Roth of the Stellar. Fury appeared on screen, his usually confident demeanor replaced by something approaching terror. "Commander, we were captured without firing a shot. The humans disabled our ships with precision that should be impossible. Were you mistreated?" "No, sir. They were professional. But, Commander, they knew everything about our ships, our weapons, even our names and service records. They had files on every officer in our fleet." Another rescued captain spoke up. "Sir, they told us that they've been preparing for encounters with hegemony forces for over 3 years. They have detailed plans for responding to every ship class in our Navy." Admiral Carter's final message to the hegemony fleet was broadcast as they approached the border. "Commander Vex, you will return to your leaders and report what you have learned. You will tell them that human space is protected by patience, preparation, and persistence. And if they don't believe us, then they will send more ships, and those ships will also be allowed to leave with the same message. We prefer education to destruction, but we are prepared for either outcome." Dr. Walsh completed her analysis of the engagement from the research station. "Ben, I've been reading the post-action reports. The humans used less than 5% of their available forces in this sector to completely control 12 advanced warships. What does that mean for galactic politics? It means the warning beacons aren't suggestions. They're the only thing standing between other species and something much worse than what the hegemony experienced today." As the convoy reached the border, Captain Morrison delivered his final words to Commander Vex. "Commander, you came here to test human resolve. You learned that our resolve is not something that can be tested. It simply exists. Captain Morrison, may I ask what would have happened if we had actually destroyed human ships or killed human crew members?" Morrison's response was delivered in the same calm tone he had used throughout the encounter. "Then this would not have been a demonstration, Commander. It would have been a hunt that ended only when every ship and every person responsible had been found and eliminated. Even if that meant following us back to hegemony space? Especially then. The hegemony ships crossed back into their own territory, carrying with them the knowledge that would reshape military thinking across the galaxy. Commander Vex sent his report to Hegemony Command, detailing how easily his fleet had been outmaneuvered and controlled. Within days, the story spread throughout the Galactic Council. Military analysts studied the engagement, trying to understand how the humans had achieved such complete dominance with seemingly minimal forces. But the conclusion was always the same. Humans fought wars differently than any other known species. Dr. Taylor and Dr. Walsh compiled their observations into a classified report that would be studied by xenobiologists for generations. Their conclusion was simple but profound. Humans had brought the persistence hunting instincts of their evolutionary past into the space age, creating a defensive strategy that no other species could replicate or counter. The warning beacons continued, their endless broadcasts, sending the same message in 17 languages to any ship that approached human space. Turn back. This is your only warning. And for the first time in galactic history, every species in the known universe understood that the warning was not a threat. It was an act of mercy, because now they all knew what lay beyond those beacons, not just ships and weapons, but something far more dangerous. Humans who would never stop hunting until the threat was gone.